Hi everybody, it's Maureen. I am wanting to kind of show you the process that I take for making a doll wig. Now I'm partway through the process, but to catch everybody up, what you do is your doll head should be separate from the doll body. Otherwise, if it's not, you'll want to cover the entire doll if it's little or big. You'll want to cover it in saran wrap. What you're basically doing is making a wig cap out of fabric. And with that wig cap, what that helps with is it creates a custom base that you can create your wig on top of that fits to the head of your doll. Now, there's saran wrap underneath this, and you only need it to cover the area that you're working on. I have it covering down to about like the nose here and to the bottom of the neck where I would want that to cover. Now I don't have a fancy doll stand to put the head on, so I'm using a jar. I could weight this down with things on the inside of the jar, but I haven't. It's pretty stable as it is. And what we're using is plain old water, which I have in a cup here, and PVA glue. Now, the glue is basically the same kind of glue that you would use for a lot of projects in that case. So I'm actually going to pour out a good amount here onto I have just a plastic palette that I use for painting. So I'm going to put this into the big reservoir here. Of course, it's going to take a minute for it to come out. There we go. Let's put a nice big dollop there. And put the lid back on. Now I could sit here and struggle to squeeze it out through the little nozzle, but I'll save you guys the struggle there. But PVA glue. I mean, if you wanted to shout out to a name brand, yeah. If you use Elmer's, that is definitely a PVA glue. What you will need is newspaper to have a nice clean base to not make the nice tablecloth dirty. Paper towels if you should become messy. A nice palette for your paint, in this case glue, and then a cup of water of some form. I use this particular nifty mug for my painting. And what I'm doing is I'm going to use a little bit of the water here, just pour that into the reservoir. I'm not going to use the PVA glue straight. I'm going to water it down just a little bit. The reason I'm doing this is because of the fabric itself. I would have very gloppy bits of glue on the fabric, and this is linen fabric. I'm using hair ties to hold it onto the doll head right now, but you could easily use rubber bands, or if you needed to use like yarn or something. Either way, I'm not going to allow my glue to touch the hair bands. I'm going to do this in a two-step process. I'm going to do the top of the head first, and then I will get down around the ears and the lower neck. Because basically you're going to need dry time for this. This is not something that you're going to be doing quickly. But because linen is a wicking kind of fabric, what I'm basically doing is my first layer I'm going to do the watered down solution. And you just probably saw a drop there from my brush. That is why we are using newspaper as our base here. I haven't put down any indications of where the ears are or other features yet, because I just want to get the glue layer down first. I'm trying to create a wig cap that I can then take the hair, the human hair that I purchased, I can then take that and sew it onto the wig cap or glue it onto the wig cap. Either way is fine. Now I know that the ear is right here, so I'm going on either side of it. The best part about having a layer of saran wrap underneath this is it's going to keep all the glue in the fabric. It's not going to absorb into the wood. You wouldn't want that. You don't want to glue down your wig cap until you really need to glue down your wig cap, because what we're going to do is cut this to shape. So it is the custom right shape for this doll. Now this part is a little bit wet, but that's fine. So I am just finishing up putting the solution on here. Now this will take several hours to dry. I'm gonna let this dry overnight. And then tomorrow I am going to, see how this comes in handy? Have to clean up your spot if anything drips. Then tomorrow I'm going to do another layer of glue. And what will happen is after this is all dry and I've done several layers of it, it'll become quite hard and stiff. Then I will take a pencil, draw out the hairline where it goes around the ears and then how far down it goes on the neck. Tomorrow I'll remove this top layer of bands and do more on the back side and the neck and in front of the ears, where one would, let's say, right here, this part where your hairline comes down right in front of your ear. But I know we kind of look like a mummy right now, but that's just unfortunately one of those things. So I will see you tomorrow with more of this. Hey everybody, it's the next day. I took off the bands off the top part. You can kind of see where the line is. I applied another layer of glue. Also, Mod Podge also works really nice because it's a glue and a finish. And I applied the second layer straight, no water. So with a sponge brush and whatnot. And we're waiting for that to dry, so it'll be a few more hours. But I wanted to kind of show you something, if I could make the noise. Hear that? It gets really hard. So the next step after this is going to be drawing on the edges and taking this off and cutting along those edges. So I'll see you in a little bit. Hey everybody, I'm back. It actually didn't take too long for the glue to dry. The part that I really had to put quite a bit on was on the back of the head. This is going to be the bottom of where the hairline is at the very, not quite at the nape of the neck, because that's where the neck attaches onto the body, but basically where the hairline ends, just the very bottom curve of your skull, for most people anyway. Hairlines can vary, of course, very differently for each person. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to draw out the hairline on this, because most of it is dry where the first layer was. If you remember, I did the first layer up higher, So along the front, along the sides, and along the back. Because this had an extra layer of glue and had dried overnight, when I put down the second layer of glue, it dried really quickly. Like, it's already hard. See? It's created a shell, basically, with the fabric and the glue. And since there's saran wrap underneath this, it allows it to be pulled off without being stuck to the doll itself. So what I'm basically trying to figure out is I have these flaps on the sides close to the ears. So I have to figure out where the ears are so I can draw around that shape and have it be accurate. I don't mind that there are folds here. It's going to happen one way or the other with the fabric as you try to make it taut over a object. It's going to have sort of folds and creases that are going to happen in certain areas. You just try to reduce it as much as you can. I don't have any glue here over the face at all. This is still just the cloth. But I did take the glue absorbed in way low, so I have to figure out where my hairline is going to start and stop. And the cool thing is I actually can kind of see the eyebrows through the fabric, so that gives me at least a point of reference. So I have to figure out how far back I want the hairline to be. Now I'm just using a pencil. This is just a mechanical pencil. I'm not gonna put this in pen because I don't want that pen line to show up. You can erase pencil. You can't necessarily erase pen. Okay. So what I'm seeing here is I have the jawline and then the ear is back here a little bit further. So with that in mind, since I know the ear is right here, I'm going to make my drawing. It's basically a cut line is what I'm trying to do. And the best part about the whole pencil situation is if I mess up, I can erase it a little bit. It certainly helps to look and see if you have any particular hairline in mind. If you study some of the portraiture from the time frame, what you can do is then figure out from the portraiture if you wanted to make that exact same hairline or something very close to it. Depending, of course, if you are making a male or female, those hairlines and such are going to vary a little bit. Actually, the back is nearly dry, so that's a great thing. Just trying to get it around the wrinkles here. Let's see, there's the ear. All right, so there's that shape. And this just recently dried, so all I'm doing is taking the line basically along the edge of the glue that I already put. I noticed that the graphite doesn't like to draw on the regular fabric. I don't mind, I might be able to touch up this edge a little bit easier in a little while once it's fully dry, but it's at least set. Okay, so let's see. The bottom of the earlobe is here, right there. So I know that the ear shape, as the neat thing is you can also press and see where the ear shape is. there's the little knot in the front of the ear. So I can bring this down right in front of it. Now, if I want to make this section a little bigger, which I think I will, actually, I can just expand it out a little bit further. Now, my doll is not perfectly symmetrical, so that's why I have to pay attention to the features so well, because otherwise it's just not going to match up for each side. Now, if you have a modern doll, it may be easier to actually get it to match up. So I lined out the ear and then put the hairline a little further back from it, but I at least have the ear shape drawn in there so I can cut around it. So I hope you can kind of see. There's the ear shape, and I just have it down along the back, forehead, and then the other ear shape, and then it goes down along the back as well. So, yeah, that actually is dry, surprisingly enough. It still feels a bit flexible to me because there's only one layer of glue as compared to more. So I'm going to actually put more glue on that bottom edge, but just on that edge where it needs to be. I'm going to actually apply it directly to the fabric, just like that, and then spread it around. And now that I have my draw lines, though, this actually makes it much easier too, because I'm just going to glue within the lines. Now this will probably take an hour or two to dry at the most. And since it's just directly glue on the fabric really seems to wick it right in as well. There we go. So we're going to let that dry. We've drawn out our lines, and then once it's dry, and I think that it's stiff enough, what I'm going to do then, because I want this to all be the same stiffness, after it's all dry, then I'm going to take a pair of scissors and we're going to cut along the lines that we drew. So stay tuned, it'll be just a little bit more. All right, and we're back. So now that it's fully dry, just about as hard as the top, which is what I wanted. So what I'm going to do is take the rubber band, or hair ties in this case, off. And then I can take the plastic wrap off, which there's the head of our doll. If you follow me on Instagram, this is nothing new. Okay, and then I can put, these are still functional, they really didn't get any glue on them, so I'm going to put them back in their jar. You'll find that I have a lot of glass jars around the house, but I mean, you can use them for anything. So here we have our wig cap. So I can get this jar out of the way for now. So what I'm going to do is basically slowly take the saran wrap off the inside. And this could be saved for a later project, which I'll put in the drawer. And yet again, we have a perfectly round head shape here. Now we're going to take just a regular pair of scissors. I recommend using your fabric scissors since this is made of fabric, even though it has a glue stiffening agent in it. You want something to make sure to cut cleanly through your fabric. Even if it's a stiffened fabric, it should be fine. So I'm going to start here at the edge of the ear. And then just cut gently along the line. Now, these really hard areas, it's going to sound like that. Some of the areas where it's like this, where it's double layered because of a fold, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to cut through. So don't be surprised if you have to use just a little bit of force, but be careful. You don't want to cut too much either. Cutting around one of the ears here. The edges where there isn't any glue are going to be, of course, a lot easier to cut with your fabric scissors. Okay, so there's our spare fabric, which has a little bit of stiffener on the edge. I still save even bits of this because you never know when you're going to need it. And here is what our little skull cap or wig cap looks like. And because it's completely dry, you can even fit it over the doll head to see how things fit. A lot of hairlines don't necessarily always go directly up to the ear, so that's why I left a little gap there and a little gap there. And then try the wig cap on your doll a few times because you may need to make minor adjustments as well. It'll have a looseness to it for now because once you put the hair on or glue this onto your doll and then glue the hair onto it, it's going to take on a little bit of a life of its own. So I'm going to clear out a little bit more around the inner part of the ear here because I feel like it's covering a little bit of that up. There we go. Neat part is it does also have just a little bit of give to it. It isn't like a solid piece of plastic. these earpieces are definitely going to get a lot of glue around them because they're a little bit flimsier as compared to some of the other edges. Now, as you're trimming, do be careful to only take little bits off at a time. It's easier to take a little bit off than it is to take a lot off and then realize you took too much. So, line this up here. Okay, yeah. I wanted to make sure that the space here was the same space as over on the other side to make sure that the hairline was as even as possible. But yeah, these portions right here are going to require quite a bit of glue besides other edges of this. Yeah, let's see. So this is cut out around the ear really well on this side. Notice how it's really out and around the ear. I'm gonna go, actually, it's not as bad. I have a little bit of trimming on this side of the ear. Not much, just a little. That double edge is giving me some trouble as well. Okay. There we go. Okay, so there's the one side. There's the other. So it's a little closer, but not by much. It's not bad. Okay. Well, I really thank you for staying with me during this little tutorial on how to make a wig cap for your doll. And stay tuned to my channel. There's going to be plenty more videos as I finish Dorothy up here. And we have to add hair to this wig cap and go from there. So plenty more to do. If you would like to see more videos like this, feel free to leave a comment or send me a message. And I also am going to have other videos on spinning and fiber arts coming up very shortly. So please feel free to join me on this journey. It was great to see everybody. Hi. And consider subscribing if you really enjoy my content. Have a great day. Bye.